How's it going, Thieves fans? Today we have a little bit of a different video for you. We're going to be going over the previous matchup the Thieves had against Minnesota Rocker, as well as talking about the predictions for the upcoming Major 4 tournament. Before we get into the Major 4 predictions and pick'ems, let's get into the previous Thieves matchup. This last weekend, the Thieves played the last matchup of their Major 4 qualifiers. They played against the Minnesota Rocker and went 3-0 in a pretty dominant fashion. The first map was a Fortress Hardpoint, where the Thieves ended up scraping away a win only by 5 points. They won 250 to 245, and it was really back and forth the entire time. The Thieves played really well, but so did the Rocker. Kenny and Drazah, otherwise known as the father and son duo, both played really well in the first hardpoint. Kenny went 38 and 26, and Drazah went 31 and 28. We can't forget about Octane though, who had a huge 3-piece kill in order to allow the Thieves to break the hardpoint at 245 for Rocker. Octane's clutch 3-piece allowed for Drazah to call in his streak and get the last kill, so that way the Thieves were able to break and win the hardpoint. Map 2 is where the Rocker kind of started to slow down. The Thieves ended up winning their embassy search, going 6-1. It was a really lopsided map where the Thieves were able to start off 4-0 before Rocker was able to take their first and only point. Similar to the last map as well, both Kenny and Drazah had a really good showing. Kenny was 9-3 and Drazah was 8-2. The third and final map was another Expo control for the Thieves. They ended up taking it 3-0, and really the Rocker did not show any signs of life throughout this control. The Thieves look really dominant on Expo, and I'm interested to see how teams kind of go into future matchups with the Thieves, knowing that this is a strong control map for them. The Thieves were able to take their first offense pretty handedly. There wasn't too much slowing them down. Envoy had a really hot start, which I think helped them out a lot. That led into their defensive round, where they only let Rocker take the B point, but were still able to hold off on A. The third round was pretty similar to the first one, with the Thieves having another offense. They played really well, and Drazah actually stepped up a lot and went 20-18 and really looked solid. To round out the control, everybody on the Thieves was positive, whereas everybody on the Rocker was negative. Similar to the control overall in the series, nobody on Rocker was able to go positive, and only Envoy on Thieves was negative with a -3. With that being said, let's get into the Major 4 tournament pick'ems and predictions. This may look a little out of order, but I'm going to start with the Thieves because they are the first matchup on Thursday, and they're actually going up against Rocker again. For the Thieves' first matchup, I really don't want to go too in depth on this just because the Thieves just played Rocker, and I really think that if the Thieves are able to play similar to how they did this last matchup, that them being on LAN will be a even bigger push for them to win this series 3-0. With that being said, I really do see the Thieves taking this series 3-0, and I see them moving on to the next portion of the bracket. Now I'll just go based on the bracket, so that way we kind of get everything in order. And for the first matchup in this portion of the bracket, it's going to be the Optic Texas versus Boston Breach, and this is going to be a good series. I know in the previous tournament, the Breach actually were the team who dropped Optic into losers bracket before Optic made their really big run. So I think this is going to be a interesting matchup, but Optic is still probably the best team. I think most teams and pro players have said that, and I do think that as of right now that's the case. But I also know that based on the way the Thieves have been playing, that they have an opportunity to show that they're the best team as well. So I think Optic is going to end up winning this one 3-1. I think Breach could go 3-2 with them, but the way Optic has been playing, as long as Hook shows up the way he has and Shotzi shows up the way he has, I really don't see Breach being able to outperform Optic at the moment. Next up, we have NYSL going up against Vegas Legion. I really don't see Legion being able to win this one, but I will say I do agree with Methods in the statement that Legion is a very underrated dark horse in this. I think with the pickup of Standy, they've been playing a lot better, and it would be interesting to see how they do up against these higher level teams. I think it's going to be tough to beat the Subliners, knowing the Subliners just beat Boston and have played fairly well recently. So I am going to stick with the Subliners on this one. I think it might be close though, so I'm going to go with a 3-2 on that one. Now for our final winners round 1 matchup, it's going to be Seattle Surge versus Atlanta Faze. And this one's a really tough one because Faze have kind of been dying out a little bit. And just recently the Surge played Faze and took them 3-0. That's not something that's very easy to do to Faze. So I might have to stick with Surge. I don't think it's going to be another 3-0 fashion. I think if anything, it'll be a 3-1 or a 3-2, but I'm going to stick with 3-1 for now. Now on to winners round 2, we have Optic Texas versus the New York Subliners. And again, similar with the Breach, I think Optic is just too dominant right now that unless they kind of show up and play slow, I really don't see Optic losing until winners finals, honestly. So I'm going to have to go with Optic again on this one. I just don't see New York being able to beat them. And I think I'm going to go with a 3-1 on this as well. For the second matchup of winners round 2, I have the Thieves going up against Seattle Surge. And this is another one where I think that the Thieves can take this one against Surge because Thieves have been playing better than Faze. And some of the teams that Surge has faced up against and had a little bit of difficulty with, I think the Thieves have played a lot better. And the Thieves, in my opinion, are the second best team in CDL right now. And I think the only team right now that I would be the most scared of is Optic. I just see Thieves taking this one probably a 3-2. I think I'm feeling a 3-2. I think they close out a Surge. I hope it'll be a 3-1. I don't want to have that pressure of going into a round 5 search or a map 5 search. So knock on wood, we can get a 3-1 victory and move on to play Optic in the winners finals. Now let's get into the elimination round 1. Up first, we have Boston Breach going up against Toronto Ultra. This is going to be a tough one to pick just because Boston Breach and Toronto Ultra, I feel like, are playing at a high level, but Toronto didn't quite show it this qualification. So I am going to stick with Boston Breach, and I do think they're going to go to a map 5. Next up, we have the Vegas Legion going up against the Florida Mutineers, and I'm going to have to stick with Vegas on this one. As I said before, I could see Vegas being a dark horse team, and I don't see them losing to Mutineers. Mutineers just haven't looked really good, and I know they've kind of been competing with a couple teams here and there, but you know, nothing that's really caught my eye. So I think I'm going to have to go with Vegas going 3-1 in this one. Next up, we have the Minnesota Rocker going against the London Royal Ravens, and I think this one's pretty straightforward. I think that the Rocker are going to go 3-0, at worst 3-1 against London. I'm going to put it down as a 3-0. London really just hasn't done anything this year. They have been really slow. They've had a couple matchups where they were a lot closer than maybe what people expected, but they really haven't showed any signs of life. So I think I'm going to have to stick with the Rocker, and I see them going 3-0. For our final elimination round 1 matchup, we have Atlanta Faze going up against the Los Angeles Guerrillas. And I think it's a similar situation as the Minnesota Rocker and Ravens matchup. I think Faze, despite them slowing down a little bit, they are still leaps and bounds ahead of the Guerrillas at the moment. And Guerrillas have just played really slow in this last qualifying set. So I think Faze is going to take this one 3-0, just like Rocker is going to take the Ravens matchup 3-0. Now to start the elimination round 2, we're going to have Boston Breach going up against Vegas Legion. And this one, I might have to go with the dark horse here. I feel like in every tournament, there's always one situation that is kind of a shock. And I think this one might be it. I think Boston might come out a little slow, and I think Vegas might be able to take this one, but I do see it going to a round 5. I know this might sound kind of crazy, but this is more of just a gut feeling rather than a actual statistic-based analysis. I think if we were going based off of that, I see Breach still being able to take it over Legion, but I also know that Clayster on land can be a different beast. And, you know, as I said before, they're kind of starting to make waves a little bit, and I could see them taking this matchup. For the second matchup in round 2, we have the Minnesota Rocker going up against Atlanta Faze. And I think this matchup will be a similar situation to the Thieves and Rocker, but I think Rocker will be able to take a map off of them. So I'm going to go with a 3-1 victory for Atlanta Faze, and that means they will move on to play against the New York Subliners. To start off elimination round 3, we have Seattle Surge going up against the Vegas Legion, and unfortunately, I think this is where Legion's push will kind of run out. I think Surge is still a better team than Legion overall, so I'm going to have to go with the Seattle Surge going 3-1 against Vegas. For the second matchup, we have New York Subliners going up against Atlanta Faze, and I think this will be a close matchup, but I still see Faze being the better team at the moment, unless I see New York kind of make some waves in this tournament. I really don't see them beating Faze. So for now, I'm going to stick with Faze beating them, but I'm going to say it goes to a game 5. This means that the elimination round 4 will be Seattle Surge going up against Atlanta Faze. And I think this is where things start to get a little hairy. I don't know if Surge would be able to beat Faze twice in one tournament. I think Faze might start to heat up if they get a little bit of a loser's bracket run. So I think I might have to go with Faze on this one, going another 3-2. Now for the winners grand finals, we have Optic Texas going up against Los Angeles Thieves. And this one is going to be a very good matchup if we get to see this. I think just about everybody is hoping to see Optic and Thieves play. And I hope it comes down to Optic and Thieves in the grand finals either way, but winners finals matchup will be a solid one if we see Optic and LA Thieves. Now, when it comes to my prediction, as I said, this is a really tough one. I do think these are the two best teams in the game right now, but I could see Thieves taking this one because they want their revenge. I think they showed up a little flat in the online qualifiers up against Optic Texas, and I think this is going to be their time to shine and show why they believe they're the best team in the CDL. So I'm going to have them going 3-2, and that means they will move on to the grand finals. Now for the elimination finals, with Optic losing to Los Angeles Thieves, that means they will now face Faze, and this is one that I think Optic could take fairly handedly. Again, I just don't see Faze being on the same tier as Optic and Thieves at the moment. Again, you can't always count them out because they are a good team. They have a good history, but Optic, I think, is going to win this one and get back into the grand finals. I think they are going to take it 3-1 against Faze. This leads us to the grand finals, which is a best of 7 instead of a best of 5, which will be the Los Angeles Thieves going up against Optic Texas. And like I said, with the winners finals, I think this is the grand finals that Call of Duty fans want to see. I think this will be a great matchup. It may not be the El Clasico of Optic and Faze, but this is what I think a lot of fans want. You have the top two teams going up against each other for the grand finals. I mean, it would just be a fantastic watch no matter the outcome. Now for the pick'ems, I still think that the Thieves can take this. I think this is the tournament that the Thieves can make a run and kind of do what they did last year, where they started off a little slow throughout the year and then they picked up towards the end. And I think this might be the first turning point for the Thieves to show how good of a team they really are. I think Thieves are going to end up taking this one 4-2. I'm gonna go with my gut and I'm gonna say 4-2. I don't see it going to a game 7. I think Optic might be a little burnt out after having played in the winners and then going back down to losers and having to come back up, similar to how the Thieves turned out up against Faze in the tournament that they went to losers and then back up to grand finals. So I think Thieves are going to show how good of a team they really are with this event. And yes, there may be some bias. There may be, some hope that the Thieves are going to do this, but it's something that I could also realistically see, despite Optic being the best team in the game right now. I think LA Thieves are not far behind, and I think this is their time to prove it. So that's going to be my pick'ems for this tournament. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell so that way you guys get notified every time I post a new video about the Thieves. And if you want more updates about the Thieves, go ahead and check out the ThievesTalk Twitter page. I will have that linked in the description down below. And if you want to follow my Twitter as well, that will be linked in the description underneath the ThievesTalk link. With all that being said, let me know your guys' predictions in the comment section down below, and I hope to see you all in the next video as well. See you guys.